Well, good morning, all. It's 9 o'clock. Our council meeting of June 4th, 2025 will come to order. Please join me in standing and we'll sing the national anthem.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Before we begin, I want to recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is a part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Six Nations of the Grand River, the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the Haudenosaunee, and Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people. Madam Clerk, I presume we have some folks to speak at open forum this morning.
We do.
Who is on the top of the docket?
Patrick Turner is first.
Mr. Turner, welcome.
Welcome.
I will, just before you start, sir, I know we've got a lot of people that want to speak this morning. You're allotted 3 minutes each. I'm going to try to keep everybody to that so we can keep things moving along.
Okay.
Floor is yours, sir.
This needs to be up here a little bit. It's funny, when I registered, I was not told about a 3-minute limit. So I've got my information here. My name is Patrick Turner. I am the president of the Hillside Academy Seniors. I'm here to speak on behalf of the seniors in Southgate here and also the local people, because we had a meeting with the local people and the seniors this past week, and they gave us some information that we would like to pass on. We also have a petition here that we had sent out informing some people, and in a short period of time, we have 94 signatures stating Save Our Hall. Okay. Let me give you a little history about this group we call the Hillside Academy Seniors, who are using this hall. This group started over 40 years ago, and now I am the next generation, which I thought I would never be. Many members were farmers in the area due to health issues or just wanting to enjoy senior years. They have sold their farms and moved where the amenities are more accessible. Many now reside in Mount Forest, Durham, and Hanover, which is farther away from Dundalk. The young people cannot buy the farms due to costs. Corporations have bought many workable farms, destroyed the dwellings, and then we also have Mennonites buying many of the farms to be rezoned for diversified farms. The Mennonites do not vote as it against a religion. They do not become active in the community activities with us. They have their own social gatherings. This is why we have lost new members to our group and the potential people who could enjoy this hall. Many of our members are widows, and our average age, which is surprising, is over 80 and a half years old. I'm one of the youngsters of the group. The fact that 1/3 of our members no longer have driver's licenses makes carpooling and communication a must. This group of people are more than just friends. We look forward to shuffleboard cards or pepper tournaments because this has been our social gathering for years to pass the long winter months. In some cases, one has lost a loved one, gone through many major surgeries or other health issues which cause depression to set in. I know that for a fact. I had it happen. They had this hall to look forward to and meet with fellow friends, talk to someone about how they coped with their similar situations. Wednesday, May 28th, I heard on 93.7, and I'm not sure if it was Brian Mill. It was somebody advertising, come celebrate the rich history of Southgate. Anybody that has the internet can Google the history of Southgate, but all the small town buildings will disappear for recreation if Mr. Green has his way. If you wanted to rent the hall more out to other people, maybe it can be advertised on Facebook or other means. I ask, what is in Dundalk? That would be another 20 minutes to a half an hour in the winter inclement months for us to drive. Rumor has it that possibly a big sports complex will be built in the future. This is all rumor. Where is the money coming from? We are all happy using this hall. And you can see by the signatures on the petition, you have ruffled many seniors' feathers and local people. At our meeting with the members and any community people wishing to attend, they have voiced their opinion that they felt that this is possibly elder abuse. I'm just relaying what they told me. We are getting tired of fighting for our amenities in the township, for the security of our hospital, stop small businesses from coming to areas and diversified farming, and now we have to save our hall. Kevin Green, if you have such bad animosity for us, why did you not set up a meeting as requested earlier in the year? We contacted the township, we talked with a lady there. She said, maybe you should get together with Kevin Green and speak about the hall and what's been going on. We said, make the meeting. It was never done. A quote from Kevin Green, I want to see your group gone in 5 years. That was just after COVID. He had.
Sir, I'm going to stop you there. I'm not going to allow you to stand there and denigrate our staff.
Okay.
I've already allowed you 4.5 minutes. Our procedural bylaw says 3. Please, if you would mind, just wrap up.
I'm just going to wrap up here. The most problem, I think, is communication between us and the staff at the Township Hall. There is a communication problem. I will say this, and this is a positive. The gentleman that blows the snow and takes care of the hall this past winter, it's been the best done ever. Since we've been in the hall, it is the best. I'll tell you that. He told us here after Christmas, he comes by the front of the hall and he checks our monthly calendar. That way he knows when we're going to be in the hall and what has to be done. He says, I can't rely on information from the township office itself because sometimes it's not the same. On a final note, what will happen to all the history on the walls if you shut down this hall? There is a lot of history in there. And I'd like to add one more thing. Most of the shuffleboards, dartboards, materials inside that hall, it belongs to us seniors. What's going to happen? We don't know. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate your input. Lindsay, do we have someone else?
Denise Turner is next.
Welcome, Denise.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, I'm Denise Turner and I am the treasurer of Hillside Academy Seniors. So what am I about to quote for numbers? I can verify through my record keeping. We asked Kevin Green to be patient with us after COVID to get our numbers to increase, as then everyone was afraid of catching the virus, so many people would not come out. The pepper tournaments in October of 2022, we had 4 tables. In our last tournament, we had 8.5 tables. So it is doing a comeback. We took over in 2015 with all 14 of the old executive resigned, leaving us with under $500 to work with. In Kevin's report, what happened to the years 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2020? Members in 2015 were 56 plus the lifetime members. 2016 were 60 plus the lifetime members. 2017 were 76 plus the lifetime members. 2018 was 62 plus the lifetime members. 2019 was 57 plus the lifetime members. 20 and 21, we did not charge our members because we just carried them from the previous year to get us over the COVID thing. 2022 is when we didn't charge them. 2023, I must have missed a line there. And 2024, we only had 37 members plus our lifetime members. You do not have to be a member to enjoy our activities. From 2015 to 2024, remember COVID, 2021 and 2022, 1.5 years, we paid the township $15,365.20. I'm not sure where the money went, but I've got checks that will prove to the penny. As per the email, we did pay $750 for 2024, but doing the math, 14 rentals at $117 should be $1645.28, not $1345. A member recently rented the arena for a birthday party at $61 per hour. The man sat in his office the whole time and got paid time and a half, and the place was filthy, and they had to bring everything down to the spoons.
I'm going to stop you, ma'am. Again, I'm not going to allow people to stand at the microphone and denigrate our staff. So if you could just keep your
Staff at the hall.
comments directed towards the hall, please.
Okay, the 4-H never came back to use the hall because they have to go through a police check, and red tape is just not worth it. When the hall is rented out, we come in to clean up the used tea towels, possible coffee pot, other supplies of ours are used like the saran. They use all the supplies that the seniors own, and we really do not mind this. We love to decorate the hall each month, and these decorations are for everyone to enjoy. Kevin Green says we have a contract that we will pay $1,500 a year. We have been on the executive for 10 years, and I've never seen a contract, and it seems that everyone I talk to have never seen a contract. As per a conversation with Kevin Green, we brought to his attention that during COVID, we donated $750. Kevin commented, "You sent it, so we cashed it." We asked for help after COVID to get a reduced rent, and he told us to pay what we can. Okay, and the days of hall use, and you got to remember, May to September, we pretty much use the hall 7 times. That's 5 months. The other 7 months, we're quite active in this hall. And okay, the facility to accessible standards. Our driveways are gravel at home. So 2 parking spots, this is a joke because everybody usually comes in their own vehicle. So 2 parking spots is useless. Curbs on the ramp, the railings are on both sides, so I don't see them falling off the ramp. The automatic doors, person with them opens the doors or installs wireless or you can install a wireless doorbell, and we are happy to help anyone to get into the doors. The kitchen design, way more useful than the McIntyre building. Signage, it's not that big of a hall, so I'm sure you can find the bathroom. And there are signs there. The door width's not a problem. Washrooms are large enough for a walker, and there are no steps to get to them. And
Sorry, ma'am, you're at 5 minutes, so if you wouldn't mind, just wrap it up,
I'm
please.
just about finished.
Perfect, thank you.
And what does the secondary provider policy mean for the McIntyre building? I have no idea. Okay, I'll leave that one out. Okay, the annual operation cost of $20,000 seems, in my opinion, is a little high. So you would have to convince me that this number is correct, not fudged, and only for the hall in question. On a final note, do we have to wait for you to convince Kevin Green that our hearts are really into saving the Swinton Park Hall? I'll leave that one out. Okay, and if the $1,500 is the problem, I brought my checkbook. I'll write the check today if you can guarantee to keep our hall open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lindsay, who's next?
Next I have Carol Riddell.
I'm not even gonna use the mic.
Well, we need you to come up to the microphone, please.
Do that.
We want everybody to be able to hear you, Carol. Welcome.
Okay,
The floor is yours.
I have a really close connection with the hall, being that Gail and Susie Furlong and myself led 4-H there for years and years and years, as Lindsay can testify. And I think we're in the middle of nowhere. People ask me where I'm from, and basically it's the middle of nowhere. And a lot of our people don't drive, and a lot of people are dependent on other people's drive. And I think there's nothing worse than keeping elders at home doing nothing. Our hall provides an outing twice a month winter for cards. It provides shuffleboard every other Tuesday, and it provides the rest of us. And I still have a little difficulty realizing I'm a senior, but I guess I am. Anyway, I just a little concerned. I heard that Cedarville lost their hall, which is too bad. 20,000 does seem a bit high to me. And if I could see it in paper, maybe I could look at it. I mean, I look at Lauren's farm books and still can't figure it out, but just really, really disappointed that the hall is a community hall with a lot of community history, with a lot of work being done by the community. Jack Richardson did a pile of work there. And in the council's mind, it may be surplus, but maybe we could look at some of the things that the council is doing and consider them surplus. Renovations aren't cheap. This hall is beautiful. Council office is cheap. I just wish that, oh, well, the other issue is I don't think that all the halls in our community certainly fit what you want us to have. Hopeville Ballpark is a prime example, doesn't have any of this. And I'm not sure what you mean by signage on the bathrooms. Can somebody explain that to me? Nobody wants to explain that to me. Okay, they have a toilet, they have a urinal, they have a sink, and figure out which one you're going to. So the, or both, yeah. So I was a little disappointed. I'm still very disappointed, and I'm not sure I'm done. I'm pretty persistent.
Thank you, Carol. Madam Clerk. is your-
Next we have Ken Furlong.
Welcome, Ken.
Last, and I as much hear from the people that are directly affected by the use and rental of the hall. Can I speak last then, please?
Sure.
Yep. So we'd have Katie Harrison then, and then you, Ken.
Welcome, Katie.
So most of you know the big guy. He was on council. And he had a lot of sayings. You know, it's hard to make decisions with $100 in your pocket for $1 million decisions. But am I talking into the mic?
Yep.
Okay.
You're doing fine.
So, to begin with, many years ago, the late Marjorie Pallister was on Proton Township Council, and she was able to secure a grant to renovate and refurbish the Swinton Park School into make it a community hall. We donated money. Jack Richardson put in all his labor free. We didn't have to pay him. we canvassed the neighborhood to see if they'd donate to help us build this hall. And the money that helped pay for the materials for Jack. And I think the big guy's rolling over in his grave right now. Just to hear this. I have submissions from one person, Kimberly Love. The next one is Chris Fell, Pat Franks, Elizabeth Benedictus Kruger, lived right across the road from us in Swinton Park. Nancy Snyder, a ward clerk from Markdale Hospital. She's wondering what the reasoning is. Are you going to develop some row housing? Ann McKenzie, who grew up and went to Hillside Academy School. She was raised in Swinton Park. Mrs. Black was her teacher. They continue to use the hall, all 4 generations of them, for Christmas parties. And somebody said to Pat Franks, what on earth are these people thinking? I'm so sick of politics. This isn't me. They're so sick of politicians being oblivious and wondering if their heads are out of shape. So the submissions I'll hand out, and you can read them to staff. And the other question I have, who are the staff? Did council agree with staff? Or we read in the paper, staff made the decision that we should be doing this and this and this. I don't know who staff is. I'm sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Katie. And if you want to bring your letters and give them to the clerk, that would be fine. You don't have to do it right now. You can do it later. Okay, so we have Ken. Is that
Yep, Ken Furlong would be our last speaker today.
Ken? Come on up. Welcome. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you, Council. I do have a written submission here that I'll read from and present at the conclusion. My comments on the proposed closure and sale of the Swinton Park Hillside Academy Hall are as follows. I have no affiliation to current groups or individuals currently in matters pertaining to this matter. I do, however, have a say as a taxpayer and community advocate. Through the years, this community has been welcoming and open place where my wife and young daughter at the time purchased property some 49 years ago. It was a hub where we met others, worshiped at the church, and were welcomed and invited to current and planned events. These activities bolstered others in their plans of events and services to further make this a place of welcoming and fellowship. This started to change when the parties, and particularly the township, were given the current property and management of the facilities for reasons I am asking for to be reviewed and fully discussed in an open and true dialogue of respect. I recognize the circumstances and makeup of activities have changed dramatically in the community, not least of which our demographic and social interactivity are in need of redirection. The terms of giving to the township management from a local board and responsibility of maintenance and upkeep are the main points. To close this facility and sell it at this motion before council today states, I am proposing to defer this until such time as a review of some 80 years from the time of amalgamation of the school boards to the central organization we now have in our towns. Now the council is looking for the proceeds of these assets without full community authority to do so. It's not been public knowledge that this is the fact, and you're dealing with assets of this municipality. I would further say this action proposed by staff today to close and sell a critical asset valued at $300,000. How you has arrived at that, I would like an explanation, has not fully been presented and transparent to the larger community. This report dwells on the ability and the record of a primary tenant, on the ability and record of a primary tenant to make the facility financially viable without further dialogue to explore uses and critical retrofit expenditures. Not included in this presentation is some $50,000 estimate stated. Closure is not the option to be considered by you today. To do so, it is in my opinion that such action borders on renoviction, if not demoviction. I would gladly entertain any questioning or clarification, and I'm available at your discretion.
Thank you, Ken.
I take it there's no questions?
No, this portion of council is not.
All right,
A
I'll
debate.
leave that with you then.
We do appreciate your time to come and present to us. And I would say, thank you to the group here. It demonstrates that there's a great deal of support and interest in that facility. And without you folks being here, we wouldn't be aware of that. So thank you so much. Well done. Okay, we will move on with our council meeting. Madam Clerk, I need a confirmation of the agenda. Would someone care to move support of the agenda as presented? Jason, seconded by Jim. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Is there any declaration of interest related to any item on today's agenda? Barb?
Through you, Mayor Milne, it's not with regard to an item on this agenda, but I am reminded that I should declare in open session that I had a conflict with regard to an item on closed session in the last meeting, which I did not participate in due to the nexus of the subject matter to my property.
All right, thank you so much. The clerk will take note of that. We have no delegations or presentations today. Adoption of the minutes from the May 21st council open and closed sessions and from the May 27th special council meeting as presented. Someone care to move that, please? Monica, seconded by Joan. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Reports of municipal officers. The first, we have a report from the Recreation Department regarding the Swinton Park Community Center declaration of surplus lands. Someone care to move that, please? For discussion? Martin, second by Barb. Thank you. Kevin, welcome. The floor is yours, sir.
To start, I'd like to say this report was not easy to write. And as it's been stated by people that my belief and my whatever is against this facility. I'm not against this facility. This report is a direct.
He is speaking into the microphone. Yeah.
So this report is a direct result of our council deliberations on budget, on what was proposed to put into the budget. We deferred that, and the results of this is this report. So as much as people think I want to close the building, I do not want to close the building. I would like the building to be thriving and full and useful. I'd like to see all our facilities being used. But when it was not accepted to do the renovations in the budget, the report then is this resulting report. Yes, we're not getting revenue for the usage now through the Hillside Academy. That's a fact. Accessibility is a fact. We have to do it. It's 2025, and there's many issues that kick into that. So all the facts, not personal opinions, not what people think I believe. These are the facts. The facts are in the report, and I have to present the facts. I presented the facts 5 years ago on what we're going to do with an arena that's not being used. So it's my job to present council the facts on what's being done, what's being used in the facility, and it's their job to make the decision. I may not agree with the decision. I may agree with the decision, but to say that I don't want to have this facility open for the public, I believe the seniors need a spot. My mom's a senior. I'm going to be a senior. I think we need these places, but can we afford these places with accessibility issues, non-payment revenue, costs? Everything's going up. And it's unfortunate, yes, some of these hard decisions have to be made. I'm glad I don't make that decision. Unfortunately, the decision is on the people up there, not me. I would fight for this building for you guys you can smirk all you want. I've worked in that building. We fixed that building. I would love to see that building keep going, but it's the people up there that make that decision, and hopefully they support me in what I say too. But anyways, so the facts are there. More apt to take questions, I guess, than I am to sit there and debate.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate the report. Are there any questions or comments? Martin, please.
Yeah, Kevin, just to answer the questions from the people here, there was a question about the secondary provider policy. Could you explain that so they have an idea of what that means?
So we have
Starters?
we have a secondary provider policy. If people come and they want to offer a program and it's beneficial to the entire community and open and inclusive to the community, council can waive fees. But it has to be a report taken to council. So that policy is there. We can waive the fees if we feel it's justified and reasonable.
Sure, go ahead. Microphone, Martin, please.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I turned it off by mistake.
Thanks.
The years, you had some that actually said family rentals. And then 2024, the Hillside Academy plus 14 other rentals. What does that exactly mean? Is that individual 14 rentals, or is that a couple of groups? Like, just trying to get the idea of who is.
The other rentals are usually family reunions, birthday parties. We've had 4-H rent it before. Last year, they were pretty much family reunions and Christmas parties.
Okay. I've got a couple more. I'll let.
All right. Anyone else have any? Jim, go ahead, please.
So just a question with this 50,000 for the accessibility. What happens if we don't? Who's pushing for this? Is this a provincial government program? And what happens if we tell them to just go rub salt?
Kevin?
So that was kind of directed to me yesterday. So 2025 is the deadline. One research I went in, the penalties for non-compliant range from 200 to 2,000 for individual and unincorporated organizations, and range from 5,000 or 500 to 15,000 for corporations. And then there's another website that says it could be up to $50,000 for corporations for non-compliance with accessibility issues beyond 2025. What's that?
The AODA Act was put into place 10 years ago?
20
years ago. So it's been in place for quite a little while. Any follow-up, Jim, for now?
Just, yeah, it's kind of where the provincial government is bringing in all these new rules for programs. They're not helping out with anything. It's like the fire department with all these new training we have to provide. And it's maybe time we start pushing back as municipalities to these pushing down from the provincial government.
I won't argue with you. Joan, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Is there anywhere that we could find that $50,000 out of any other funds that we have? That we could.
Well, there probably is, but that's not really what we're arguing about or debating about today, but I'm sure there are sources, shall we say. Monica, Joan, do you have any follow-up for now? You're good for now? Monica, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Just with regards to Councillor John, I missed the question was there any alternative location or funding? Sorry, Councillor, I missed that.
It was about where the funding could be found to do the renovations.
Okay. Well, I think that's a great question. I do think that there may be an area to pause on declaring this as surplus. We need to, obviously there's a you know, we need to make sure seniors are heard, which I know is something that all council is always looking to do. One question through you, Chair, to the manager, to Kevin, was just with regards to the formalization of a public consultation. Has there been like any surveys or open house or direct outreach that has happened that maybe others don't know have happened? And if not, is that something that we could kind of look to do?
Kevin?
Certainly that can be done. This, like I said, this report was based on the capital budget decision on the 50,000 for accessibility. And the result is the usage or whatever. So it's been in our recreation action plan for since 2012 that this facility and all the facilities will have to be reviewed for usage and where we're going in the future to keep these buildings open. So
Mhm. Just
Thanks,
to follow.
Kevin. Yep, go ahead, Monica. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So thank you for that, Manager. And also just through you, Chair, with regards to those that have come forward, I did see the emails, and just hearing it, the voice put to it makes a big difference. And just wanted to ask, I just have a note here that I made. Just with the cost justification, because I know this is all precipice on the budget. Can you just clarify what portion of the 20,000 in operating costs are fixed versus variable? So, for example, would those costs reduce if usage increased? So I'm wondering if that would make any difference.
Kevin?
Certainly, yes. The more revenue that comes in, that offsets the operating deficit or operating costs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Jason, please.
I guess I'll start out. It's maybe more of a comment. I'm probably the first one that always pushes. We have to support our rural areas. We talk a lot about Dundalk, I say, and I appreciate all the comments here today. They're you know, there's a lot of history there. It's not easy to sit up here and try to balance the history, and you know, everybody wants their taxes down too. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm on the fence, but you know, we need spots like this. We support spots like this. Is the community, you know, I guess what I'm saying is, you know, maybe we should, I guess I'd make the motion, maybe amend the motion now to defer this, giving the community a chance to talk more with staff, maybe a timeline. I don't even know what that is, what the timeline is, but to see if the community is going to rally, because I'm also the first one to worry about the fiscal responsibility in the township. And every one of you sitting there, if you were losing big money on stuff, and I know we're not here to make money, you would look at it that way in your own lives. So I guess I would make the motion that we refer this to give time for the community to meet with us, maybe an informal meeting, even meet with the recreation department and show us your concerns, and maybe give you time to rally some more people and show us that there is going to be a lot more support. Because if there isn't, giving you time, and I know everybody's getting older, but just I think that's where we're at with what we should do. As far as, you know, the renovations, I don't want to do them either. Most of this stuff's a joke that the government sends down to us, but our hands are tied. So I guess that was a comment, and I'll make that motion.
I can second it.
Monica will second. So, Madam Clerk, are you clear on what the amendment to the motion is?
It wouldn't be an amendment, it'd just be a motion to refer, but yes. I'm clear.
Okay. Monica will second that.
Yes.
Okay. Martin, you have a
Quick
comment.
comment.
Go ahead, please.
I think we only agree a few times, don't we? Once or twice. But on this, I do agree, you know, like refer it or defer it, whatever, refer it. And there has to be a timeline, Kevin, because this has to be done in 2025. So it's 6 months, 4 months, that kind of timeline, that's a question that could be asked. And yeah, I don't want to see these things go either. But the Swinton Park Church is a historical building too, and they have, I used to go to that church. They have a beautiful fellowship hall downstairs with a full kitchen. So in that regards, a meeting place isn't, yeah, you can't do shuffleboard and what have you, but there is still a meeting place in the town, in the hamlet. And going back to what Jim and Jason has said, there is so much more than 20 years ago being put on lower tier. It's not just the Accessibility Act from 20 years ago. It's the fact that finance has to do asset management. They have to figure out what we have to have and if it's worth keeping, and that's mandated by the province. There's the other thing that, you know, energy consumption, that's managed by the thing. And the 444 municipalities, which we're part of, Southgate, we have to have a balanced budget compared to the province and the federal that don't have to. So as Kevin is saying, he's stating the facts here. And I wouldn't want to see it closed either. But if the rest of council is willing to refer it for 6 months, it might just be delaying the inevitable, but it at least is being transparent with you people, getting together, finding other people that might want to use it. And I think overall that would be fair. And the olive branch that, you know, you can use the McIntyre, that might not work with the comment saying everybody's aged and they can't drive, a lot of them. But that was an olive branch too, because I think that shows a reflection on the fact that he is concerned, Kevin, about the building itself. So I would go along and say, yeah, let's first and second that and go with it.
Barb, please.
So through you, I need I need a guidance on how to ask my questions because it's been now referred back to staff. So my questions have to be with regard to the referral, or can I ask my questions with regard to clarification of the report?
I think since we're still discussing the report, you can ask your clarifying questions. The referral hasn't been approved yet. So.
Thank you. I had some questions, so if I may, because I think it will help in the next steps of the referral. I would like to clarify one of the comments, sorry, this is to the clerk, or to Kevin. Is there a requirement by the township that 4-H has to have vulnerable sector checks, or is that a requirement by 4-H?
Well, I believe that's 4-H. If we only have a vulnerable sector
I just want to
check.
clarify that sometimes misinformation and disinformation, which we learned a little bit more about at our conference recently. So it's not our, you know, 4-H leaders must be. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that to accuse the township that we're posing extra limitations on groups that prohibit them from renting our facilities is not. That is the function of your organization. So my questions with regard to the report are the requirements that are outlined. The parking lot has to be paved, the entrance ramps lack curbs. Those are items, and the signage isn't about bathrooms. The signage is signage, regardless. These are all mandated by the province. We're not making it up. But quite frankly, and the fire alarm and strobe lights, and it's all about safety and accessibility for all of you. I'm not supportive of closing I don't want to close the hall either. We were tasked with a very difficult budget and we paused or didn't approve the renovations or the amount in the capital budget. That's not to say that we can't go back and revisit it. And maybe if the users are able to pay $1,500 for usage for a year is I think $20 a use as opposed to $61 an hour. I think township staff have worked with and see the value of the seniors in our community. I do also see the fact that travel is difficult for many, and it is the only township facility in the center of the universe near Hopeville. So other than the Hopeville Pavilion, which it hasn't got the same facilities, and it's not as conducive to the gatherings. So I absolutely support the referral. I was going to make it myself, but with some specific ideas on how council needs to revisit the budget. And where can we find the funds to do the renovations? How can the community get involved and help save your hall? We realized that I wasn't looking for applause. I'm just saying what everyone else has said here at the table. Sometimes staff have very difficult reports to bring to council. It's not that they want to, but maybe it lights a fire under people to back up what staff being, in this case, the facilities manager, Kevin Green, who did have in the budget $50,000 to renovate your hall. And council didn't approve it because of all the other expenses that we are faced with. But we can go back and we can revisit it, and maybe we can find those funds through the community funds, through the community, through people renting the facility. I'm not surprised that $20,000 is what it costs to operate that building. Between snow removal, and thank you for the shout out on how great the snow removal has been, through heat, hydro, all of those expenses, they add up. So we need to get people in the building. So I'm very supportive. Sorry, thank you for the indulgence. I'm over my 2 minutes. And I would like to support the resolution to refer back to staff. And maybe we can revisit how we can get those renovations done so that we can meet the provincial downloading requirements that are upon us. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Martin.
Yeah, I'll just jump on that. Whenever we're sworn in, we give an oath. We swear to obey all the provincial acts and laws and constitution and human rights acts, federally, provincially. And the one thing that we don't talk about too often, it's just presumed, is that we give an oath to be, what's the word? It's not peculiar, judiciary. We have that responsibility to look after the township's taxes for the common good. So as I said, it is a tough call, and maybe whatever time frame referral, maybe it is maybe just delaying the inevitable, but we have to give it that chance. And I like the comment that Deputy Mayor mentioned, that it lights a fire. Going back to the old town hall, it was sell it or demolish it. All of a sudden, bang, you saw what happened. I don't agree with that part in the report, but it is a chance to try and get things done. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Martin. Monica, I see your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So just to speak to the referral and the current comments already made, I just wanted to add that I do understand the financial rationale, and we definitely need to be balanced with our fiscal responsibility, with equity and inclusion in terms of making sure everyone feels they belong, and especially our seniors, particularly in the rural areas. We already have a vulnerability to isolation, which was already touched on a few times. So definitely displacing them from their longstanding meeting space without clear engagement or transition planning sends a wrong message. So I'm very happy to hear like the comments that were made and thoughts that were being brought forward, and just hoping that we can explore other options, especially for grants for accessibility upgrades and any partnerships or shared use agreements with other community groups to bring back life to the center. That would something that could be explored as well. So definitely, as Councillor Shipson just said, it could be something that's going to go into the inevitable, or it's something that could swing the other way and make something possible. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Joan, you have your hand up, and then I see Jim Ellis. Go ahead, Joan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We definitely know how important it is to have seniors in a building, talking, playing, and doing stuff. We were not here to close a building down, and I'm really happy that Councillor Rice, because Councillor Jim and myself, we were here debating that we were going to differ or refer and what we were going to ask for, because we know that facilities, we're not here to make money on recreational facilities. It doesn't. It's here to support our seniors and our youths. And that's what we're here to do, not to close buildings on you and not to displace you. So we can all come to a good decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, just a comment too. With all these building we're doing with Flato in the town of Dundalk, we're asking for parks, that they put up parks, which are not going to make us money. Like, we're not paying for the initial, but it's going to be maintenance and stuff like that. So if we're asking for that for the town of Dundalk, and I'm biased, I'll admit, I grew up Swin Park, went to the square dance, sat at many euchre nights, funerals, birthday parties. It's been in my blood. It used to be run by the community. I remember going up with my dad to blow the snow, clean out the parking lot, and light the fire. And when it got put over to the township, I can remember him saying, "You want to ruin a good program, community program, give it to government." So it's a hard spot to be in. So
Thank you. Jim, please.
Good morning, good people. I do have ties with the Swinton Park Hall as well. Some may not realize, but I think it was about 1992 I built the stone bell cairn. These are tough decisions that staff have to bring to council, has been pointed out. It's no different than other assets that we have, roads, bridges. Are we going to close a bridge that has 2 people crossing it a day and we have to put out $1 million or more to refurbish that bridge? These are tough decisions. Assets, if they're not in use, should be looked at like we are microscoping this one right now. You can look on our energy management plans. It tells you what the usage of propane, electricity, the cost. This facility here right now currently, and the energy management plans, and these are mandated through the province as well. It is in the current one is 2023 that we're looking at. 2024 numbers will come this year. But right now, the greenhouse gas emissions, and this is mostly due to the propane at the Swinton Park facility, causes more greenhouse emissions than 2 wells in Dundalk and the fire hall, like separately. But these are the contributing factors. These are made public. They are online to have a look at. You can look at the costs are there as well for energy that can be reviewed. And we're happy to provide that if you can't find it. This is going to be something we're going to discuss through Kevin's recreation master plan, and that has been brought to council a number of times annually through the budget as well. But we're going to be talking about this about Hopeville Ballpark pretty soon because the same thing is happening. So unless we have a rally with the community and we can make things work together, the township has to make some decisions. So I hope we can support everyone where we can, but these are the facts.
Thank you, Jim. Martin.
I just have one more. Since Jim mentioned that energy, that's the one I was talking about where it shows consumption and what have you. one of the items in the consent items at the end of the agenda, it was a letter about an accessibility audit that we have not yet received. So thinking about that just now, if Swinton Park, was Swinton Park one that was checked for that? And if so, if it wasn't passed, could those renovation fees even be higher than 50? That's subjective. We don't know that yet, but that is something else to think about. Oh, yeah.
Any other questions? Jason?
I'm not, just wondering, since if this goes through the referral, can we discuss that now or later, what meetings we want to have or how we want to set that up? Or is that something we should?
I think we'll let staff bring that
Yeah,
back to
okay.
us and then we can have a look at that when we get that presented to us. Madam Clerk, please.
I just, I can read the referral just
Please.
to make sure that the move seconder and the rest of council is
Yeah.
happy with the wording of this. So be it resolved that council refer staff report Rec 2025-004 back to staff to provide for more time for the community to meet with the Recreation Department and council to further discuss the future of the Swinton Park Hall related to community and financial support and report back accordingly. Does that cover?
Catch?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Barb, go ahead.
Does the financial aspect of the resolution communicate that we need to revisit the accessibility requirements that we didn't approve previously? You think that it's understood? It doesn't have
think
to
it
be
is.
just specific in the resolution, but as long as it's understood.
Yeah, I mean, as Kevin alluded to, the accessibility isn't an option.
I know
It needs
that.
to be done. So yeah, I believe that would cover it. But if you want it more specific, Kevin, we can do that.
I think it's fine the way it is.
And if I may,
Go ahead.
I just want to thank Kevin for bringing the report because it was difficult, but your hands were tied in us not approving the budget originally. So thank you.
Okay. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor?
Did you want a recorded vote?
Sorry, what's the question? Do I want one or do you want one?
Can we call it, sorry, can we call it a recorded vote?
Absolutely, we can if that's what you're requesting.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Madam Clerk, would you take the poll, please?
Yeah, recorded vote was called for the referral of staff report Rec 2025-004. Counselor John? Yes. Counselor Rice?
Yes.
Counselor Singh Soares?
Yes.
Mayor Milne?
In favor.
Counselor Shipston?
Yep.
Counselor Ferguson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobreen?
Definitely in favor.
By a vote of 7-0, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we'll do the second report from Kevin and then we'll take a recess. Kevin, the report is regarding a utility tractor loader purchase. Someone care to move that motion, please? Martin, seconded by Barb. Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, this is his report based on the RFQ that was released. This tractor was to be replaced last year, but we deferred it to this year's budget for cost savings. So we only got 2 replies to the RFQ. We decided to go to a larger size tractor based on what we may have to do with Plateau Parks if they get handed over to us to do the maintenance and the building of the parks. So that's why we went to a larger size tractor. The price options there, the reason we had to go with the Kubota was the Massey Ferguson length of the tractor was actually 22 inches longer, which wouldn't fit on our trailer. So I don't think we're interested in buying a new trailer also.
Thank you, Kevin. Questions? Barb?
Thank you. And thank you, Kevin. So we're going with the 33 horsepower. Are we going with the 72-inch deck?
Yes, that's to replace the deck of the old one, which was only a 60.
So
We
we'll
can
be
go
able
with,
to,
we can go to a larger size tow behind unit that we'll be able to use on the soccer fields and larger fields.
that'll save time and energy and greenhouse gas emissions.
Gives us the equipment when we have to hire the staff next year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Jason and then Martin.
I see nobody offered a trade-in on the old one, so what are we planning on it? To do with it?
Do you want it?
Sure.
I don't think you want it, but it's not worth anything on a trade-in, so we'll send it to Gov Deals and see what we can get for it.
So you can bid on it there, Jason.
Yeah, I will.
Martin.
Yeah, I was kind of jumping on what Barb said, Deputy Mayor DeBreen, about being a bigger deck. There could be actually hypothetically a lot of staff time saved where they could be used somewhere else then, because it would shorten the cutting times, wouldn't it? By quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it'll be used on the soccer fields, which now take us, with the more we got, we're taking 2.5 hours to cut a soccer field, so it should save some time.
Jim, please.
Would the 24 horsepower not come with that size of deck, the 72-inch deck, or no?
They don't recommend it. It's just the 72-inch pull behind deck is rated for higher horsepower than the 24. So if we went with the smaller tractor, we'd go back to a 60-inch deck.
Okay. Monica, I see your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just through you, to staff with regards to, I believe it's 696.87 overage from the capital budget. Just wondering if this will be fully offset by the sale of the old unit, and if not, do we know how the shortfall would be covered?
Kevin.
Oh yeah, we're hoping we can sell. We originally in the capital budget, we were hoping to get 3,000 for that tractor. So that's why we're over when we got no trade-in value for it. That's why we're over budget. So certainly hope we can get $655 or $69 for it, but.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, not seeing any further questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Kevin, for those reports. Appreciate it. Okay, it is 10:02. Let's return at about 10:10. Madam Clerk?
Yeah, just as during the recess, our economic development officer wants council to take part in some video footage. So just stick around, please, with Brenna.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That was great discussion. We look forward to further discussion. So on to the planning department. We have a motion or report here regarding Glenelg Phase 2, request for an extension. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, thank you. Second by Martin. Thank you. Ken, welcome. Floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, your worship, members of council. I'll keep this brief. This is pretty straightforward. It's a request to extend the approval of Glenelg Phase 2. As council knows, the county of Gray is the approval authority for subdivisions, and it's their practice to ask the municipality where the application resides to support any request for extensions. So that is what we have before you. We've brought these to council a few times. There is a fee that is associated with which, as of this morning, has not been paid, but I'm advised should be paid by week's end. So once that's done, we will forward any decision that council makes to the county. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ken. Questions, discussion? Barb?
Thank you. And through you to Ken, the map, the map that was included, the map showing subdivisions in Dundalk. Could you just clarify for me? I was having trouble. It's Phase 2 that is asking for the extension, which is, I only see 2A and 2B. And how is that related to the school? Because I thought Glenelg was north of Todd Crescent. So I'm a little confused by all the phases. In fairness, there are a number of them. So
yes, so through your worship, the numbering system you see on the attachment is actually not connected to any of the phases. It's just simply a numbering system that was created. So Glenelg Phase 2 is actually number 5 on the map.
got it.
Yeah. It took me a minute or two when I first saw it.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Martin, please.
Yeah, and with that all being said, this might be a silly question, but that's not going to stop work on all the other subdivisions being done, like actually getting the trees done and the landscaping. Not that.
No, what this does is ensures that the subdivision itself doesn't lapse, meaning that they would have to start again. But that said, there is also now a new provision in the Planning Act that was added 2 years ago. I like to call it the undo button. So basically, if a subdivision lapses and expires, there's a provision that allows the approval authority to basically pretend like it didn't lapse one time, which the county has done for one of our files, actually. But then the catch to that is that you don't get any more extensions. So once you're undone, you get however many years that allows you to have. I think it's 2, maybe 3. But if you're not finished your conditions and get to final before that's done, you expire and you start all over again because it's one time only.
Barb?
Through you, and just as a follow-up to my Glenelg Phase 2, number 5 on the map, is asking for an extension. There is a road requirement for access to the school site, which is A, I believe, on the map. Or where is the school site? 6.
Number 6.
Number 6. Okay, and there's going to be access from, so that it's not going through the town.
Yes, so through your worship, Glenelg Phase 2 ties into the school site in the sense that there are 2 crossings of the county rail trail that occur that become the temporary access roads that basically surround the school site. So the school site is basically a long rectangle and those roads wrap around it.
Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. The next report is regarding Bill 17, comments to the province from Southgate. Ken? Oh, sorry, I need a mover. Barb, seconded by Jim. Ken?
Yes, thank you, your worship. This is just a follow-up to our discussion from council's last session on Bill 17. So the comment period is coming due. So based on the discussion that we had at the last council meeting, we composed a potential response back to the province. I will also note that we corrected the typo in the giant table. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for that. But we've also had a meeting of planners in the county that the county planning department was able to facilitate. And one of the things that their director, Scott, mentioned is that OPPI, the Ontario Professional Planners Institute, is also compiling a response and is looking for feedback. So one of the motions that we've included is basically to send our comments to OPPI in hopes that it may help them compose theirs. And their executive director reached out to me this morning, so they're eagerly awaiting. And based on council's motion, I have everything literally ready to send when you've done your motion. So
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you, Ken. Questions? Martin?
Yeah, Ken, great reading this. I think we talked about this a number of times. The changes proposed that cause concerns, I don't disagree with any of them. There's one though, in the other part with the zone permitting system. I was just wondering, why wasn't that put in the cause for concern? Because you say township staff have noticed several comments, technical briefings, as encouraging municipalities to move to a zoning permitting system. Township staff have been considering this. However, considering the significant amount of work required to enact, that may be challenging for a small municipality, i.e. Southgate. So do you think that should be in the concern part or just leave as is?
Your worship, I don't think it's a major concern because at this point, that's just the team basically looking at the way that the technical briefing document on Bill 17 was set up and the fact that they keep referencing it. So it's kind of a feeling of our group that they're kind of sending a message without being direct about it. So our feeling was it's not really a concern, but we wanted to identify it and say, well, we kind of hear what you're saying and we're reading between the lines. And if this is where you're wanting to go, that's all fine and good. But there is a significant amount of work that we would have to do to make that happen. Writing those official plan amendments is not simple. And you actually have to create a community planning permit bylaw, which in essence is another zoning bylaw. You'd have, and what I'm trying to figure out is if we had to do it, could we just do one that is both? So I'm trying to do the same thing, send a message without being direct and say, if you want municipalities to go this way, that's all fine and good. There's a lot of work that has to happen and you might want to think about simplifying things and providing some money through perhaps another round of municipal modernization, for instance, that could help to do that.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that answer, because quite frankly, building new homes and all the Bill 17 and Bill 5 is to get rid of red tape. This sounds like a lot of red tape.
Well, through your worship, yeah, I think, and Bill's online, I don't want to take any of his thunder, but I think if you recall back to the discussion, I think it was Bill that said I thought it was a great comment that whenever the province talks about introducing regulation, it's like you're not really getting rid of red tape, you're actually creating more. And I see Bill's popped on, so maybe he has another prophetic point that he could add.
Bill always does. Go ahead. Bill, if you have something to add, please.
Actually, I'm sorry, I don't. I think you fully understand the issue, and I agree with what Ken's saying. It's introducing red tape to create more housing when we'd like to just get on with the job.
Yep, I hear you. Okay, any further? Joan, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through Ken, thank you for the report. It was, as you said, very extensive. I learned a lot from it, the questions and answers, and yes, it did give me a better insight as to the bill and just to get more information. So thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Okay, we're ready for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Ken has one more report regarding a site alteration permit application from Full Throttle Motor Speedway in downtown Ayton or Varney. Oh, sorry, Bill has the report. All right. I haven't got there yet.
Hi.
Oh, we got lots of chairs here today. Who else wants to pile on? Holy mackerel. All right. I need a mover and a seconder. Joan and Jim. Thank you. Bill, your
Good
turn.
morning, everyone. Mayor Milne, members of council and staff, members of the public who may still be there. This site alteration permit does apply to the main site of the Varney Speedway. You have a bylaw that was recently amended to provide the process by which these fill and site and alteration permits are processed. This is the second one of, I think we have 3 or 4 that are working their way through. Most of us that are dealing with these hadn't dealt with them in the past, so we're getting it down to a science now. This particular site, everyone knows as the Varney Speedway. It's been there for many years. We've all driven by it. Many of you may have actually been on the property. The owner actually has another property that he would like to fill, and there's some encroachment of the speedway onto some agricultural lands. Just to make clear, this alteration permit would not apply to those lands. So the recommendation is to have a fill and site alteration agreement signed. And if council chooses to adopt that recommendation and direct staff to issue the permit, that agreement will apply only to the main site. We have been talking to the owner. I guess I've been helping the township near on 2 years soon. And I've been in at least 2 or 3 meetings on this issue. And I know the owner, if it's still the owner who we met with, is well aware of it. And I think his consultant who presented the fill plan also is well aware of the fact that there is a zoning issue on the back. Part of the procedure in the fill bylaw is to give notice, and that was done. And there was a number of concerns that came back about the impact of this use on the property or on the people who live nearby, and also a lot of talk about the encroachment of this use into the agricultural lands. I think addressing that is separate. The zoning issue is a separate issue. We have put it in the recommendation that they initiate a process to correct that, and that it be clear in the site alteration agreement that this only applies to the main site. There were some other concerns. The people who live nearby worry about truck traffic and dust and runoff and all those things, and they're very important considerations, and it certainly will be disruptive while this work goes on. But the end benefit, provided the work is all completed according to the drawings and the submissions by the engineers, will be a noise attenuation barrier on much of this property that is hopefully designed to ensure that the impacts are a little bit less on the people who surround there. The site alteration agreement does address things like dust and truck movements. Obviously, the haul route in this case will be the highway, but it's a big site, so vehicles will have to move around on it because they're placing fill, as you can see in the diagrams, basically in a horseshoe around the entire track. So we're in an interesting situation with this application. Certainly, it seems like most of the comments from the public do want the barrier to be completed. They do want the zoning issue to be addressed on the agricultural lands. The applicant has provided the required letter of credit, which I think is in the range of $60,000, that if work is not done correctly, the township can use to rectify issues. There's also $11,000 in deposit provided that would deal with the cost of the engineers and any other costs the township incurs as far as enforcing and processing and preparing agreements and so forth. So our recommendation is that you do support or consider supporting the site alteration permit being issued for the main Varney Speedway site only to the numbered corporation that owns it, and that no filling or site alteration be permitted on the adjoining agricultural lands until that issue of compliance has been addressed. And I think I covered everything as far as the public concerns and the details, but happy to try and answer questions on anything I missed.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Any questions? Barb?
Thank you. And through you, thank you, Bill. And this report outlines a significant investment on the part of the property owner of Full Throttle Motor Speedway, and in an attempt to help with the noise impact on neighboring residents. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I do have a couple of questions. Who supervises or inspects the fill that is coming in to ensure that it meets the clean and free from waste factor and placement factor? That would be my first question.
Bill?
If I may, through you, Mayor Milne, the engineer responsible for the project would primarily be obligated to make sure the certificates come through testing the material. The township engineer, who I guess would be Triton's representatives or members of Public Works, can be on the site to look at those tickets, can investigate the site when the fill is being placed. If they see things like asphalt or other problems with it, they can be stopped. The security can be used and cached to remove any fill that may not be allowed to be placed. So the purpose of the site alteration agreement is to make clear everybody's obligations under these, when these processes are underway. But primarily the responsibility would be the engineer for the applicant, and the township has oversight on that.
Thank you. And more of a, you may not be able to answer this because berms have a way of changing things. Noise attenuation, it may or may not be fully successful. I note that the raceway has regular fireworks displays scheduled outside of the normal Victoria Day and July 1st, which I anticipate is going to come to council for an exemption. Would berms help in that regard with regard to fireworks, or is that just a whole different, this is more berms to help with the noise of the actual racetrack?
Yeah. The best way maybe to look at it is there's some sections on the attachment at the very bottom. They're quite small, but basically that's a cut through the property. You can see where the fill is being added, and you know, you're getting things a few more meters high with trees on top and so forth. I can't tell exactly the measurement. You can see on the contours too that, you know, you look like you're 6-7 meters high, so 20-30 feet, that kind of thing, maybe higher in some spots. So I don't know how high the fireworks go, but I'm imagining that you're probably going to still see them, but I wouldn't want to promise that fireworks won't still be visible, which is fun on certain days, but if it's every day, it's a little less fun.
And through you, I was just referring to the noise factor on, you know, the neighbors, but also the fact that we do have a fireworks bylaw, and it would be important to remind the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Jim, you had a question.
Yeah, just Bill, just to piggyback off Barb's question about the soil. You said that we could have Triton there to visually inspect. Are they able to do samples too of this material, the soil and that?
Well, if I may, through the mayor, to answer Councilor's question, what normally should happen is that there's a certificate with the driver of the fill that of its weight and its chemical composition. So they should be testing the fill. I'm not going to say they test every one. I don't know that for sure, but yes, the fill should be tested, and the engineer should make sure that it's tested because the bylaw requires that it be clean fill and not contaminated fill. So however that engineer and their certifications, require them to do certain things in due diligence, whatever they need to do to make sure that's clean filled, they're supposed to do.
Jim?
Yeah, this is all regulated through the excess soil regulation. So this will be public and on the website. You can find the quantities. In the past, I know our CBO has taken samples to verify, check, which if we don't get reimbursed for, can be recovered through the security. So there is a check and balance. I know I've been on sites before to do, an odor type smell of the soil to notice if anything that way. And that would trigger, let's take some samples to make sure. But this is heavily regulated through the excess soils and will be on the backs of the qualified professional who's designated by the owner and contracted for. So it is very looked at rigorously, other than just our eyes.
Thank you, Jim. Barb?
Just through you, with regard to Triton or whether or not our engineer is on site just as a validation, is that covered by the owner or by the township in this regard?
Jim?
Generally, I would think we're not going to have an engineer on site. If the CBO or Public Works or something takes a drive in and notices something funky, maybe that'll trigger something, but we will not be having Triton go out there and observe, watch. There'll be the records to go through, and again, those sample characteristics come through the results to us, so that can all be modified and looked at.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Jason?
No, I just want to say, if the engineers or they have the final say, it sounds like a good thing to me. It's a business has been there a long time and they're following all the rules and trying to mitigate the sound. I think it's a good thing.
Yep, for sure. Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a comment. With everything in the Schedule A, the conditions of approval, F says all fill to be dumped or placed shall be clean of waste, asphalt, trash, rubbers within the meaning of the Environmental Protection Act. So he's going to be looked at. So it's all good. And then down into J, where required, there's going to have to be erosion control by sod, turf, seeding, grass. So it's actually good to see him. Yes, there's going to be dust and dirt and what have you, but I think hopefully we won't hear any more complaints about this because there is a lot of work being done. And maybe if it is seeded, maybe that's an extra grandstand for them, for more people. Who knows? I don't know. But
Who knows?
so
Obviously investing in the business.
yeah. So
Ken?
Yes, just one comment through you, Your Worship. The conditions that you're referring to, so the draft permit that's attached is actually one of the process improvements we've made now that we've been changing the way that we process these applications so that it's very clear. In the bylaw itself, there was a whole list of conditions. We now actually turned it into a permit that is then issued if council gives approval.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, not seeing any further questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Ken, and thank you, Bill. Public Works Department has 2 or 3 reports here. And the first one is regarding the Dundalk 2025 reserve capacity for water and wastewater. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Jim?
yeah, Corey's off today, so I'm going to stick handle this one. So annually we have the reserve capacity calculations completed by Triton Engineering. So in 2024, we had 157 ERUs that were occupied. So what has transpired with the calculations is that for 2025, the uncommitted drinking water
ERUs is 1,091. And for the wastewater system, it's down to 429 ERUs. So there is a number in the tables of the Triton reports that show the what we've allocated and has not been in service yet, but it has been allocated. So that's what's still available for capacity. For waters, the 1,091, and for the wastewaters, 429. And hoping to build on that with getting the wastewater treatment tender go out the door. So if there's any questions, I guess we'll go from there.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any questions? Barb.
Thank you. Through you and to Jim, I really found the schedule very interesting to see the number of units that are committed, that have been activated or not, and the remaining units. So the 1,091 and the 429, I think you said, I have to scroll up to 429. That is what's left if all of the allocated capacity were to have been used. Right. So
that's correct.
So if any other come forward, that is what we have to work with. Can you remind us what the sunset clause is on usage? So we have reserve capacity, we've allocated it. I think it's 3 years.
Yeah, I believe so. It's 3 years. And if nothing's happening, then we have the opportunity to claw it back. So we implemented that a number of years ago.
Go ahead.
And to that then, in relation to providing extensions on subdivisions that may have been included in that allocation, does that extend the capacity, the reserve capacity or the allocated capacity?
They kind of are a little bit separate, but they are tied together. So that's a good point. I guess we'd have to make sure that they're hand in hand in that reflection.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Joan, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Jim, does this cover like all the new houses, the ones that are not built as yet? Is it taken into consideration for all the units that are coming?
Jim?
Yeah, so table 3 of the Triton report shows what's been allocated. So White Rose Phase 3 is there. There's the Block 75, Flato 7, 8, 10, 11, Glenelg Phase 1, Southgate Renewables. So, and then at the bottom of that table is what subdivisions are being spoke about, but they have not been allocated any capacity. So currently in that unallocated development for water, there would, to fulfill all these subdivision needs, and that's the MZOs and Flato, Glenelg Phase 3, the Braymore subdivision. What's not committed, and if we were to push these all out through the door, we'd need 1,945 units of water and 1,911 for wastewater. So we don't have that capacity for all these, but I'm working again to keep trying to be ahead of it. So
thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Barb?
Just to that, because you drew my attention to the unallocated development, it talks about the school block. Is the school board asking for their capacity? Because I think we need to make sure that doesn't get lost on our radar.
Jim?
yeah, that'll come forward as we move through with the rest of the process, but the school block is expected to use at the bottom of that table 124 ERUs for water and 90 for wastewater. So we do have capacity to fulfill that hopefully within the next few months to allocate for the school block.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, not seeing any further questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. The next is regarding tender awards and recommendations. 4 for four of the projects you can see there. Someone care to move that, please? Joan and Jim, thank you. John, are you taking that one? Welcome, John. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, this is just, we put out tenders for the cold in place and hot mix paving projects, the double surface treatment, microsurfacing, and the purchase of a tandem truck. We're recommending that we award the cold in place and paving to Cox Construction for a total of $2,112,912.20 plus HST for all three projects. The double surface treatment, we recommend to Duncor Enterprises for a total amount of $520,332.80 plus HST. Microsurfacing, again, we recommend to Duncor for a total amount of $188,370 plus HST, and we recommend for the purchase of the plow truck to go to Curry Trucks for a 2026 Freightliner for $422,300 plus HST.
Thank you, John. Any questions? Jim?
Hey, John. Just a question with the international truck there. I was trying to look it up. I know they've removed the EGR valve and all that. Do they have the DPF systems off too? Do you know as well?
Yeah, there's no regen on them now.
Yeah.
They have a higher compression in the newer motor.
Yeah.
in the
So
new motors
Freightliner still has that system in it too.
with the Cummins. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would the estimated use of the DPF fluid be a year on a plow
Oh,
truck?
sorry. So the internationals, I believe they still have the DEF.
Oh, they do
yeah,
still have the
yeah.
DEF,
They just won't have the particulate filter in the.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a newer engine then, like newer design?
Yeah, so it's a Scania, which is a European, but he also used to be in Mack trucks years ago. But it's still, talking with truck shops that we use, they don't have much experience with them, so they're not sure what sort of how well they hold up.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Jim. Any other questions?
Just a quick one.
Oh, Monica, go ahead.
Thank you. Just through you, Chair, to staff, just a quick question about operations. Normally with this type of work done, could you just kindly remind us how long this work will last over a duration of time?
John?
So for the paving, they should have it pretty much wrapped up in a month. And for the double surface treatment, you'll be 2 weeks maximum. And for the microsurfacing, probably a couple of days.
Oh, thank you. Just to follow up, and thank you for that information. And sorry, I should clarify my question a little bit, but that's actually good information to know. Just how long as a result of the work does that last? I'm not the best at the whole paving thing. Like Councillor Ferguson is a lot better than me. But how long do you think this work normally could last?
Okay, sorry. Through the chair. So yeah, for the paving, you should expect a life of at least 25 years for the cold in place and the hot mix. The surface treatment, typically 10 to 15 out of that. And the microsurfacing, as we talked about in budget time, is more of it should add about 10 years to the life of the asphalt that's going on to.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Barb?
Thank you. Through you to John. I noticed that we put up signage on Woodland Springs, giving people advance warning. Do we do the same for the paving projects? Do we give the residents or the travelers notice that, hey, we're going to be working on this?
Through the chair. So yeah, there's still some culverts left to be done on 49. That's why we put those ones up. But we are going to do the same thing on Ida Street just because it is such a busy stretch of road.
Okay, thank you, John. Jim, go ahead.
And I think I know the answer. We are widening out on 49, so there is more room for cyclists in that.
Yeah, so with the prices that came in here, we were gonna pave shoulders and areas that washed out bad, but we're looking at actually paving the shoulders the whole way, just to not necessarily for cyclists, but for savings and maintenance down the road.
Yep. No, that's good.
Okay. And just to be clear, it's not a bike lane. It's a paved shoulder.
You are correct.
It's not a bike lane. It's a paved shoulder that you can ride your bike on, but it's not a bike lane. Okay, all right. Any other questions? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, John. So one more report there from John, I presume, regarding the Holstein Sand Dome. Someone care to move that, please? Martin, thank you. Seconded by Barb. John.
So with the recent approval of our tender recommendations, there is going to be an estimated savings of $862,057.80 from what we had budgeted for the cold in place and paving projects. So we're recommending that we go ahead with waiving the policy procedure and go to single sourcing to get Van Pelt Construction to install the new VP Store Dome at the Holstein Yard here, including options B and D, which are the demolition and the electrical, for a total of $673,125 plus HST.
Very good. Thank you, John. Any questions? Jason.
I talked to John the other day, but I'm a little uncomfortable when we were going around the RFP process or whatever they get the acronym right. John was saying it's just to get it done in time, but I don't know. We follow precedents and everything else, and it just seems we should. I kind of feel we should throw it out there and see, but it's just more of a comment, I guess. I had already talked to John.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Jim, please.
Yeah, if you recall, we did, when we went and got this pricing, we had comparables with I think it was the Bright Span buildings, and those type, and what would fit on the footprint, right? So we did initially have some other numbers to look at. I know Grey Highlands with purchasing however the arrangement was for the Sand Dome property towards Feversham there. They put up one of these buildings. They went through this process that was a single source. The problem again with opening up with RFP, and that's with council's decision as well, but you're probably going to get a different price from Van Pelt because it opens up the box again. Even though they've said they committed to this, that will give them the opportunity to, unless they want to hold their price too, but it would open up the opportunity for them too.
Thank you, Jim. Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I did talk to John about that, and he did mention that we already put the tenders out, so I have no problem. It does need to be done. I was talking to John this morning. That type of building, it's an old Fitzpatrick building, so it's probably 40 years old. It's old, like even the design. So it's good to get it done. That's all I'm saying. It's good to have and get done.
Barb.
Thank you. And through you to John. Yeah, and to Jim, I recall the report about the various options and restrictions about space. And if I'm not mistaken, this is them honoring they indicated that if we did it in 2025, they would honor that price that they gave us in 2024. So they haven't increased it.
Yes, through the chair, it's still the same.
Thank you.
Still the same price. And just to clarify on Martin's comment there as well, we hadn't actually tendered it. We had just requested some quotes, but it didn't go through the tender process.
Okay, Jim.
How long would it take us to run a tender for this?
Well, we have to have it out for at least 2 weeks. I could probably have it out by the end of the week or early next week, which puts it to the start of July before we'd be doing recommendations to council and approvals. And Van Pelt had emailed me as well that if we don't have kind of confirmation or committal by late June, early July, then they can't guarantee that they'll have it up in time for winter operations.
Go ahead.
So really, we could have it done by the first council meeting of July. Would that give them the time?
It would be pushing it for them to have it done in time and us be able to get sand in decent weather too. If it's not completed until December, then it's not good for putting sand in then either. So
I would suspect that they have the material sitting in their yard right now to put this building up. And if they have to tender it, that material might be gone, and any new material will be subject to these tariffs that Mr. The President has put on. So you're not likely going to get a cheaper price. Just my speculation here. And you may not get it put up in time to put the sand in. And that's the critical part, in my opinion. Jason?
Well, I just want to go back, and maybe I'm wrong. I remember when we started talking about it, was Van Pelt not the company that said this building needed replay, or there was something about that. So I get the savings, and this company tells us that the building should be replaced, and now we're sole sourcing it to that company. I get it, but I don't have I got an uneasy feeling about it without going through the process, because we want to be transparent. So I'm uneasy about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Anyone else have any further questions? Jim?
It's been noted here in our neighborhoods around us that these domes have failed. Chatsworth, I believe, Grey County had one. John, I think maybe has a couple more, but and we didn't do any attention to this one last year. So we've made it worse. So they did say, as we reported out at that report, that if they had to do an inspection on it, that probably would fail. So we went another year now.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? Barb?
Thank you. And to your point about Grey County and Chatsworth, I think one of them is 1.8 million to replace. It's like 3 times the cost.
Jim?
But I believe, are they moving to a squared structure, which a lot are moving away from the dome shape and that would be probably 3-4 times the size. I'd assume that
It is
one at
just a
Chatsworth.
different,
Yeah.
different style. Yep. Any other discussion, questions? Joan, rather?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, just to be clear, because of Councillor Rice on easiness, you said that we tendered this before, correct? And we got tenders, and this coal place was also, Van Pelt was also a part of it, and they have been waiting, and we're just going back to them instead of sending out another tender, correct?
Through the chair, we didn't do a formal tender process. We got quotes for the report that Jim brought to council last fall. So there wasn't an actual tendering process. It was just we had phoned around and got some different pricing.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
So a request for a quote is similar to a request for tender. And I also note that we are getting significant savings from the cold in place. So this is not going to be, a huge burden. And we know that through discussions for the last year that the sand dome needs attention and replacement. So I call the question.
Are there any, John, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to clarify.
Nope.
It wasn't a formal request for a quote. It was, we phoned around and got some prices. So it wasn't the process, but.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, not seeing any hands. I'll call the question. Absolutely, you can get a recorded vote. Madam Clerk, would you take the poll, please?
Through you, Mayor Milne, the recorded vote was called for staff report PW 2025-020 Holstein Sand Dome. Councillor Rice,
No.
Deputy Mayor Dobreen,
Yes.
Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
Mayor Milne,
In favor.
Councillor Singh Soares,
Yes.
Councillor Ferguson,
No.
Councillor John.
Yes.
By a vote of 5-2, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And thank you, John and Jim, for those reports in the Public Works. We have a report here from the Finance Department. Kayla, someone care to move this? This is regarding the charitable donation policy. Someone care to move? Martin, second by Jim. Thank you. Kayla, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Staff are bringing this report forward due to updates that we've made to the charitable donation policy. I have some notes here. Staff have been encountering different situations and inquiries regarding the community groups and the charitable donations. So this prompted a review of our current policy, and we needed to put it in line with legislation. Sorry. And specifically the Income Tax Act. So we updated the policy to ensure this compliance. Staff have had some questions why this has changed now. It really, I think that it has been in the Income Tax Act for some time. However, in 2023, the CRA had provided clarity on this. It's important to note that we want to work with community groups on this. We realize that it's a transition and a change for them. So we are committed to working with them while we work through what the new guidelines are and how to follow the policy. And yes, staff have already researched alternate avenues for some of these community groups and have gathered information that we can share with them on how to make this transition easier. So I guess I'll just take questions.
Thank you, Kayla. And I recognize that this is somewhat complicated, but not really. Okay, Joan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kayla, are you going to be doing this on like a phase out period? You're not just going to stop it like that and they won't be able to get the funding that they were going to get this year, and then just ways to tell them how they will have to go about it from now, because we have to make sure that our hand is clear and we're not doing anything that is, I wouldn't say wrong, but not with the books. But at the same time, I know that some of them have no way of really dealing with it. So we would do it on a phase out basis, I guess.
Kayla?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. We do plan on having a transition period. So once this is passed and we have the council support, we would be reaching out to the community groups and letting them know what the guidelines mean and how it affects them and our relationship with them, and then help them find resources to otherwise process what they've done. We're not limiting it any other, just to clarify, this doesn't affect any funding, like grant funding that we've been giving to them. It's more on the charitable donation receipts and the holding of funds.
Thank you, Kayla. Anyone else? Martin, go ahead.
So you said you're holding their funds. These are community groups. They do not have their own bank accounts. Was the trouble? Because I'm pretty sure the Dundalk Credit Union gives community accounts free of charge.
Yes, that is some of the situation, is that we've been holding some funds for certain community groups. So we would be putting them in contact with local banks to try and get them set up with their own accounts.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Kayla. Jim?
Yeah, so we looked at a couple different policies that were created in 2023 around the guideline clarifications and stuff. So this is fairly current information that we were working with, as up to date as can be. It's quite clear that if we do not have any say of where the funds or any control of it, that we should not be part of it. So again, we're walking the tightrope. We want to get through and help through in transition, but this is not something, if we do not have control and council approval to deal with these situations, that we are putting ourselves in jeopardy.
That's why I say it's complicated, but not really. Barb?
Thank you, and through you to Kayla. Thank you, Kayla, for all the research and working through it. So you said it doesn't affect the flow through of granting to these organizations. We can still remain a qualified donee for Community Foundation Grey Bruce.
Kayla?
Through you, yes, This is still something that we're looking into as far as specifically Community Foundation Grey Bruce. As far as other flow throughs, unless it's a joint venture, then I believe the answer would be no. But Community Foundation Grey Bruce is our own funds. So I believe that that is not an exception to the rule, but it's a special circumstance.
Right, and we have an agreement with them to contribute. They manage the fund, and the interest from various funds can come back into the community. So that's great. That's very reassuring that we're looking at that. We received an email this morning or late last night. If an organization is housed in a township facility and provides direct community benefit to the community, is there an agreement that can be entered into? Because I understand totally about issuing taxation receipts for donations that we're not benefiting from. But in the instance of an organization that's in our facility that provides direct support to the community, are there avenues to explore a formal agreement?
So under the guidelines that I've read, no, because the township still does not have the discretion against the funds. And as Jim was saying, the township needs to have direct control. It would have to be an entity that is directly under the township, such as the fire department.
Jason.
Just comment, I was glad to hear what Jim said. I we can only do, the staff's busy as it is. We're putting ourselves out there. I think this is a good thing to phase it out.
Any other comments? Jim, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I know Kayla's researched specifically with about the food bank situation, and there are avenues for them to go, and that's what we'll be discussing. But there is the Canada Food Banks who then look to Feed Ontario, so there are resources for them to move towards if they do not want to go out and create their own accounts and managing of their funds. So
thank you, Jim. Okay, not seeing any further hands. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to legislative affairs or services. We have a report here regarding the Woodland Cemetery bylaw. That's the cemetery we took on Side Route 49. I think that was last year we took that on. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, seconded by Jason. Thank you. Madam Clerk. Holly, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Good morning. Just through the chair, this is just the final step in the transfer of the Woodland Cemetery. We've since writing the report, we have received all of the funds. So this is just creating the bylaw. The Bereavement Authority does require that we publish in a local newspaper, which we've completed, post a sign which for 4 weeks, which is at the cemetery and will come down on the 13th of June, and deliver to each supplier of markers, which I have also completed. So we're just kind of looking for approval of the bylaw so that following the sign coming down, we can submit everything to the registrar. It was submitted in draft form and there was no concerns from the Bereavement Authority. So just if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Very good. Thank you, Holly. Are there any questions? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Chief Administrative Officer has a report here regarding the Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement for the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, intake number 2. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Joan. Jim.
Yeah. So we received information that we were getting this funding through the HESWF, and that was back at the end of January. So that's why you'll note that the report was starting to be written and where it is in the sequence. So that's why it's out of sync. But we didn't get approval with the TPON agreement until just recently. I don't know why the backlog, but because subsequently in between we got the HESCS fund for Osprey Street, and the T-Pond agreement followed right behind it. But anyways, here is the T-Pond agreement for council approval.
Thank you,
And
Jim.
agreed to.
Anybody want to argue that we shouldn't get the money? Are there any questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Jim. Consent agenda. Be it resolved that council received the consent agenda dated today. Save and accept any items for discussion. Does anybody want any of those items removed for further discussion or direction? Okay. So I need a mover to Jim, second by Martin. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. General announcements. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add? This is the former Good News and Celebrations, of course. Barb?
Thank you. I just wanted to remind everyone that the Dundalk Lawn Bowling Club is having an open house on Saturday, June 7th, and inviting all those to come out and participate and learn about lawn bowling.
Yeah, you could get on quite a roll.
Phone me over with that.
Yeah, all right, all right. Sorry. Anybody have anything else? Okay. We have 3 bylaws there to deal with. Madam Clerk, one resolution for all 3 will work. Yes, it will, unless somebody wants any of them removed. Barb?
I'd like to move to separate 13.3, the bylaw to adopt policy 81.
Okay. Anybody else want any of the other 2 removed for further discussion? No? Okay, I need a motion to approve those 2 bylaws. Jim, seconded by Jason. Thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. So 13.3, which is bylaw to adopt policy number 81, the charitable donation policy, which we just talked about a few minutes ago. Barb, you'll move that presumably, or do you want to make
I'd
something
move
different?
that we defer it to the meeting in July to give staff time to meet with, or even just the next meeting in June to actually reach out to the community groups most affected by this. I totally support the need to move forward on it. I just would like some time for staff and the community groups to have the conversation. That's my move to.
I'm gonna ask Kayla, is there a time critical or time sensitive nature to this bylaw?
I don't feel it's time sensitive. However, at the same time, I think that it makes the conversation with the community groups easier if this is already a past bylaw and policy that we can rely on as staff to use as guidelines.
Okay, thank you, Kayla. I neglected to get a seconder for that other direction that Barb is suggesting. Someone want to second that? Joan will second that. Okay, any more discussion or questions? Okay, so the motion is to defer this to the next meeting. Okay, all those in favor? That is lost. Okay, so we're back now to the original recommendation, which is to first, second, and third time finally pass the resolution. Someone, well, we already have a mover and seconder. No, or do we? No, we do not. So I need a mover and sec. Jim, second by Jason. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, Madam Clerk, we have Brenna here to do some promotional filming. And Shanique is here as well to help us with that for the 25th anniversary to include council. I suggest we do it prior to the closed meeting, or is that okay?
Yeah, we'll just recess.
Yeah, we'll just recess and do that.
Yep.
Shanique and Brenna, you're ready? Is that agreeable to do it now? Yes, Brenna's in charge and Shanique.
But they didn't give him a hair done.
We'll call the meeting back to order. Thank you for that brief interlude. We're going to have a closed session now. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at, I don't know what time it is, 11:28, in order to address matters related to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Specifically today, it's about acquisition of land update, and that all those required remain in attendance. Someone care to move that, please? Martin, seconded by Jim. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Very well. We shall go into closed session now. Okay, we'll bring the meeting back to order. I can disclose that we only discussed those items that were listed on the closed meeting agenda. Confirming bylaw. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, seconded by Martin. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Be it resolved that council adjourn the meeting at 11:59. Someone want to move that? Jason, seconded by Barb. All those in favor? We're adjourned. 11:50, was it? No doubt.